Hi, my name is Thomas Holland, and I'm driving the 2018 Mazda 6 Signature. And thankfully this year, it comes with turbo power. Thankfully, Mazda has decided to plop a turbo back in the Mazda 6. No, it's not a Mazda Speed, but it is a 6 with a dynamic pressure turbo now making 310 pound-feet of torque. At first I was disappointed I couldn't get this car in a manual, but after driving it, I realized that it's better off in 6-speed auto form, and the manuals are better left to the Miata anyway. But let's talk about the looks. I think from certain angles this is a great looking car and the new front end is well done, but from other angles it's downright boring, and unfortunately this doesn't come off as a cool car. It's not really a standout option if you're into that sort of thing, but it does do understated luxury very well, and with features like adaptive cruise control that can bring you right to a smooth stop in traffic, it's definitely set up as a comfortable commuter car. So what's it like to drive? Well, we're on a back road right now, and Mazda has something called G-vectoring control, which is a pretty advanced system that allows the car to adjust how much throttle is actually being applied to the wheels regardless of what you're doing, where it's applying brakes to the different wheels around the car, and it basically creates a really nice line through the corner without you having to do much. It's a lot more apparent in the wintertime, but out here, when you're chucking it around on a back road like this, you really get the sense that the front end likes to go where you point it. It's a very confidence-inspiring feeling. I wouldn't say that this is a sporty car or an athletic car. It still feels like a fairly large front-wheel drive vehicle, but that doesn't mean that it isn't actually quite fun on a back road like this. I have not been bored driving this car at any point this week, and that's really good because we have paddle shifters, we have a turbo motor now, which means that when I flick this over into sport mode, like so, I put it into manual, I'm going to downshift into second gear, and you know what? It becomes actually quite exciting to drive. Let's go into a corner here. Third. Flip up to fourth. Woo! Okay, the power band is a little bit weird. There's a lot of torque right around the mid-range, from 3 to 5,000, almost up to 6,000 RPM, not quite. There's a fair amount of torque. In fact, if you're running premium fuel in this, 94 octane, you get 250 horsepower. But you have the choice of running 87, which means that you can get 227 horsepower, whatever it is. The point is that it's there if you want it, but you don't need it. And even when you put lower octane fuel in, this car is still plenty quick. It's still much needed power over the previous year. I drove the Mazda 6 last year, and while I liked it quite a lot as a vehicle, I was a little bit disappointed with how slow it was. It felt like, for all the premiumness that they're creating in the inside, is that a word, premiumness? It is now. It didn't quite match up in the performance part, and now it does. So, other than the fact that it's just a front-wheel drive car, it definitely is there to really give you a second to consider. Do I need a BMW or do I need a Mercedes? Or would I be okay with this for a lot less money? For the price of this signature model, you're getting in just to the base level of those German manufacturers. So, this is definitely something to consider. Now, the rest of the car is fairly premium as well. There's nothing really about this car that would make you go, oh, that looks cheap or that feels cheap. There is a little bit of a lack of refinement to the ride sometimes, and it's difficult for me to describe exactly what it feels like, but to me it's almost as if they've done a better job from last year of dampening sounds coming through, but there's still vibrations that come through the road sometimes that I'm not really a huge fan of. And it doesn't really affect the ride kind of in your back end, but it kind of comes through the steering wheel in a little bit of an unrefined manner. It's almost like everything isn't quite tightened down as well as it could be. But when you're, for the most part, you don't notice it. We've got double glazing on the windows right now, which is nice, so it's a lot quieter in here than Mazda's used to be. It's still not the most quiet car I've ever driven, but it is quite nice, and the ride overall is good. It's definitely smooth. There's one road that I always test all the cars on, and on the harsh bumps, this car is definitely capable of keeping you smooth and comfortable. So that's a win. As for the premium feel of the interior, it's definitely there, without a question. There's not really any part of this car on the inside that, for me, feels cheap or low quality. This is the signature trim, which means we've got this nice ultra suede on the dashboard. We've got the Napa leather seats, some stitching on the steering wheel and all that. And the whole thing feels quite well made. There aren't any materials that I can touch and I can find that are cheap feeling. We've got some piano black down here, but the way that they've added kind of like the matte chromes in makes it look expensive, and they did a really good job with that. And one thing that I really like is they went out of their way to pad everything. Like the dashboard, the Ultra Suede is padded. It's actually quite squishy. And this nice leather stitching along the side and the center console here is completely padded. And that goes all the way up to your knee, which means that when you're sitting here cruising, your knee kind of rests on this nice pillow. That's a totally overlooked feature in a lot of cars. That piece there where your knee sits on when you want to lean it and rest it on long journeys, that is actually padded in this car, and that makes a big difference to how soft the whole car feels. The steering wheel feels nice, the steering wheel looks nice, and the interior is otherwise spacious, with the exception of headroom. If you are over 6'3", you're not going to be comfortable in this car, I would say. You could fit in it, but I have family members that are 6'5", 6'7", and they cannot fit comfortably in this car, period. So you have to take that into consideration if you're a tall dude or lady. The whole point is that I'm about 5'11", and I fit perfectly in this car. And these seats are absolutely fantastic. This is a complete win in the seat department. They don't look particularly exciting, but they are very comfortable. The lumbar support and the width of them, for me, is actually completely perfect. And I'm very, very comfortable in these seats, without a question. It took me, some seats you can get in a car right away and they're comfortable no matter what. These weren't really quite like that, but with a little bit of tweaking, I've got a lumbar support and I've got some height adjustments here. I was able to get myself in a position where I can cruise all day long and not ever have a sore back. So that's a good thing. This car definitely does the GT aspect very, very well. As for these have memory seats, and there's some really weird quirks electronically in this car. This is one of them. You have to have it took me a while. I had to actually go into the manual to look up how to save my seat position. So you actually have to have the car in park with the parking brake on and like a door open or something, and then you hold the button down and save it. It took me like 5 tries to figure it out, because when you get in the car with a certain key, it automatically adjusts the seat to that driver. And the person that was in here before, apparently, as far as I can tell by their seat position, their torso was this big, their legs were 6 feet long, and they were this wide. And I could not, every time I got in the car, it would squish me. It was just weird, and it took me a while to figure out how to adjust it to me now. So sorry, next person, you're gonna have to figure it out just like I did. The climate control is quite simple to figure out. We have a fan button to turn the fan up and down, and it's right below where the little fan bars are, which is nice. We've got auto, obviously, and we have the temperature knobs, and you can sync or desync them if you want. And we have cooled seats. The cooled seats in this car are actually quite powerful. Some cooled seats don't seem to take the edge off of the hot days. This one definitely does. And they're not super loud. When you're rolling, you can't hear them. I have them on right now. You can't hear them. I can't hear them. I'm happy and my bum is cold. Let's talk about the performance again. All Mazdas do steering okay. Even the Miata, it's okay. It's not as good as the old ones. The steering in this is good. It's definitely some of the more engaging electric steering that you get in a hyper performance car, but it still is a little bit numb sometimes. I find, though, that if you really weight this car up in a corner, so you whip it around a roundabout or you are on an on-ramp on the highway, the front end really starts to add weight to the steering. So you start to get a good sense of what your cornering speeds are. And that's a really good thing. I do like that very much, because not all cars give you that confidence when you're at speed. The transmission is actually quite good. If you put it in sport mode, it will hold it in a lower gear and you have access to torque readily. And if you brake, it will downshift. It'll blip the throttle for you in the lower gear so that you're always in the gear that you need for the exit of a corner. Mazda has always done those types of driving dynamics very well, which means that this is, while it's not meant to be a sporty car, you can still go, yeah, that's pretty fun when you're blasting down a back road. It doesn't do boring, at least, right? It doesn't do exciting, but it certainly is not boring. I'm not having fun, if that makes any sense. Now, the gauge cluster is probably my most favorite part of this car. It has kind of like a Swiss watch, like pilot watch precision to the way that the gauges look that I love. There's individual ticks in between each of the spots. We have a little bit of redundancy. We've got a fuel gauge and we have a fuel gauge. They're both fuel gauges. One of them shows you how much gas you have left in the tank as well as your kilometers left in the tank, which I think is very cool. It actually, the kilometers follow down the little bars to tell you how much fuel you have. So you know, right now I have 419 kilometers left at just over half a tank, which is pretty good. And the rest of the gauges, while half of it is digital and half of it is not digital, you can't tell. It all blends seamlessly together. There's a little bit of a color difference, I think, in certain light, but at night it looks really good. It's easy to read. And in this model, I have my heads-up display, which is called an Advanced Dynamic something. Anyway, the acronym is ADD. So I think they need to work on some of those acronyms. But this one works very well. It actually is able to interpret stop signs, and it tells me if they're coming up. So it says there's a stop sign coming up, and it shows me on the little stop. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't see it, thank you. But it also has all of my information about speed, what speed limit I'm at, and all the safety features, right? So it will warn me if I'm getting too close to a line. Right now, I'll go over the line here. It goes beep, beep, beep. And we have lane departure assist. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a nudge back in the lane and say, stop being stupid. We also have blind spot monitoring. And in this model, I have my overhead 360-degree cameras, which we need to talk about right now because I'm very confused by these. Now, when I'm rolling, I can just push my camera view button, and it will show me a forward-facing camera, and it will show me my cameras from the top, which is usually like wizardry, right? Like, how do they make my car look like it's from the top? Well, this particular camera, front-facing and rear-facing, and all the side-facing cameras, I'm pretty sure that the camera in my original cell phone that I got, my Nokia, is better. I'm pretty sure that the cell phone cameras that they put in cell phones in like 2001, when they're like, I guess we should probably just put a camera in this phone because everyone else is doing it, that camera I'm pretty sure is better than these cameras, and I don't know how or why. There's some weird distortion to it. It's like it's just full-blown potato cam, and I don't get why it's so low quality, so low resolution. It's completely bizarre. Anyway, you can take a look at that and judge for yourself. I don't know if that's a thing that's going to bother you, but it bothers me because the rest of the car feels very high quality, very premium, and the gauges on the front, the digital screen there, is crisp graphics, and it looks sharp. And then we've got these weird 360 forward-facing, rear-facing cameras. I don't get that. Anyway, the infotainment, similar or same infotainment on most of the Mazdas, and I like it for the most part, but there's some things that I genuinely don't like about it. Visually, it's simple, which is nice. It's not too busy. It's easy to kind of figure out where to go, but once you're in the different screens, a lot of stuff isn't very intuitive. Well, we have under our music, we have a channel list, we have forward and backward, and you got to scroll along the bottom with a little wheel here. The touchscreen doesn't work on the fly, but if you're parked, the touchscreen works. So I didn't actually know that it was a touchscreen until I was parked and I accidentally poked it. But the navigation is a bit confusing. Visually, it looks very good. I like the graphics. It looks pretty premium, but figuring out how to zoom out, definitely not easy. In fact, Yuri from the Straight Pipes, he found out that I had this car and he sent me a message. He said, yo, send me a video of you trying to figure out how to zoom in the maps. And I was like, okay, how hard can it be? So I filmed myself. I'll let you watch that right now. How hard can this be? Honestly, I don't know why he wants me to send this to him. Okay, so I'm in the navigation screen, so I just do that by pushing the navigation button. And now I zoom in and out of the map. Okay. Change view. Okay, no. What if I just click the knob? No. Okay, what the? Navigation settings, map settings, guidance, warning, route. That doesn't look right. It would be simpler than that. But how do I? Info? Wait, can you zoom? Is he just... Okay, what's happening actually here? Hide buttons. Okay, now what? Ah! Oh! You have to hide the buttons and then it clicks and then... Wait, now what's this screen? I just clicked the thing over. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, what's happening now? So how do I get over there? This is not a touch... Wait, it is a touch screen. But it wasn't a touch screen before. What is happening right now? How do I get out of this? I give up. Anyway, I sent that to him, and he thought that was the funniest thing ever. Because, yeah, no, it's not intuitive at all. It's kind of weird. There's certain parts of this infotainment that I actually don't like at all. But I think that it is in the right direction, and the graphics look good. So there's that. The Mazda 6 is a good car. It always was a good car. I always liked it, but it was lacking power. Mazda was sticking to naturally aspirated engines, but now we have this dynamic turbo in this car, and that was the right decision, Mazda. I'm glad that we did that, because right now this car is now, it went from being a premium car that felt like it should have more power to being a premium car that just feels premium. The car is good, the engine is good, the chassis is good. I really like the Mazda 6, especially in this signature guise. If you are looking for a premium sedan, this is certainly a car that you should be looking at. It has a little bit of like a dad quality to it, right? It's not the coolest car, but it is certainly a nice car. And if you don't care about that, if you just found my channel right now because you're just shopping for a Mazda 6 and you wanted to hear what I say about it, go buy one. It's good. I like this car. Go try all the rest of the cars in this segment, but I think that you'll find a friend in this car because it feels premium for the price. It feels well made, and it's fun. Why not? My name is Thomas Holland, and you've been watching Throttle House. Thank you for watching my Mazda 6 review. I've got lots more reviews coming just like this, and you should probably subscribe because I have a lot more stuff coming. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much for following along. It's people like you that are making these reviews happen. The more people that subscribe, the more reviews I can put out, the more I'm able to create content that we all enjoy. Now, you should probably also follow me on Instagram because my Instagram game is really bad, at The Throttle House. Wait, is that my... See, I don't even know my Instagram handle. I'm pretty sure it's at The Throttle House. Follow me there because I put lots of cool little pictures and features of these cars that you might not see in the videos. I also show you pictures of my BMW, which is constantly broken. And if you have been following along on Throttle House, you'll know that I also do videos on that car as well. I'm a time attack driver, and I like to drive really fast at the track, and often things go wrong, and it's entertaining for everyone. So subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more Throttle House videos coming at you all summer long. Bye.